I'm joined by Senator Adam Schiff. Senator, Donald Trump causing havoc in our economy with these tariff threats, and then he presses pause, then tariff threats and pressing pause. What do you make of it all, Senator?
Well, one thing businesses will consistently tell you is what they need most from the government is certainty, stability, not chaos. And what Donald Trump is doing with these on tariffs, on again, off again stuff is just creating turmoil and churn. Businesses can't predict what prices are going to be, what their markets are going to be. I've talked to farmers in the Central Valley who are still trying to recover from the tariffs the first time Donald Trump was president, all the market share they lost that they still haven't made up. And so now Trump is imposing tariffs. He's seeing the markets tumble, and then he's backing out of them, but wants to look tough and reimposing them. It's just chaos. And of course, the markets are taking a beating, and they're going to continue to, because this is a president who really doesn't have a trade policy, doesn't have an economic policy. We heard nothing in that long, endless State of the Union about any plans to help working families. But we have this, sadly, this churn with tariffs on and off every day.
You know, he did mention, though, in that joint session that he was going to sell a Trump gold card to Russian oligarchs and Chinese oligarchs for $5 million if he sells 10 million, 50 trillion, like magic, like a miracle, the $19 trillion in anticipated addition to the deficit caused by his $4.5 trillion in tax cuts for billionaires. Voila, it's all going to go away. What'd you make of him saying that in just that joint session, whatever the hell that was in general?
Well, it is so on par for Donald Trump that he wants to essentially give a golden visa to people. It's all transactional for Donald Trump. Nothing really matters except bringing in cash for himself or his cronies. So we'll sell out Ukraine. He will utterly betray an ally to get mineral rights from Ukraine. He will use the leverage of the war, a war in which tens, if not hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians have died or been badly injured. He'll use that to leverage mineral rights in Ukraine, basically sending a message to the rest of the world. Nothing matters to the United States except making a buck, because nothing has ever mattered to Donald Trump except making a buck. So that's how that latest proposal struck me, just part of the same kind of Donald Trump fixation on money. But it's what I would expect, I guess, when you turn over the reins of government to the likes of Elon Musk, the world's richest man. You're going to get people selling visas.
Donald Trump previously said that veterans and people who lost their lives in war are suckers and losers. It seems that a lot of his policies right now are directed at attacking the veteran community. We've seen lots of veterans laid off working for the federal government. Tens of thousands of jobs within the Veterans Affairs are going to be cut. We've seen even some of your MAGA Republican colleagues out there saying, really doesn't matter. I mean, these veterans, whatever happens to them, happens to them. You know, they're just, the jobs are being cut, whatever. What do you make of this seems to be targeting of veterans, or at least disproportionately impacting veterans?
There's no question about it. The massive layoffs they're contemplating at the VA, those are a lot of veterans who are working at the VA. And of course, the people they're serving are all veterans. It's given a big middle finger to veterans. They now want to privatize or do away with the Postal Service. The Postal Service has given millions of good middle-class jobs to veterans over decades, and now they want to go after those workers. They want to privatize that industry. They want to make these private carriers richer, and they want to give a tax cut on top of that to those same carriers and other big businesses. But, you know, it all comes back to the same thing about this draft-dodging president. And that is, he has no understanding of military service, no understanding of the sacrifice veterans make. He can't comprehend it. And, you know, getting back to the suckers and losers comments that he made, you know, let's remember the context of that. He's in France. He's invited to attend this memorial at a French cemetery where, among others, 1,800 Marines are buried. But it's raining, and he doesn't want to go because of the rain, because he doesn't want to mess up that orange bouffant that he calls hair. And what's more, he says to the people around him, Why would I want to go? Those people are losers. Essentially, they were suckers for joining the service. They're suckers and losers. So that's his attitude. So what's the firing of a few tens of thousands of veterans? What does it mean if veterans can't access health care because the VA has been decimated? It really doesn't matter to him. Nothing matters to him except his own pocketbook, his buddies' pocketbooks, and his own sense of ego gratification.
And maybe what Vladimir Putin is wanting on any given day. I mean, Donald Trump attacking NATO again today from the Oval Office made a number of disparaging statements about NATO. He was asked the following question, do you think that NATO would, basically support America? And let me just show you his response here. Let's play it.
And the biggest problem I have with NATO, I really, I know the guys very well. They're friends of mine. But if the United States was in trouble and we called them, we said, we got a problem. France, we got a problem. A couple of others I won't mention. Do you think they're going to come and protect us? They're supposed to. I'm not so sure. So with Japan, we have a deal, which is a very interesting one.
Just so disgraceful seeing that from the Oval Office. What's your response to that, Senator?
Those are the comments of an ignoramus. The Article 5, the collective security of NATO, has been invoked just once. It's been invoked over Afghanistan when we were attacked and our NATO allies came to help defend us, and they served side by side us in Afghanistan, and they died shoulder to shoulder with our troops. And to denigrate that, or worse, not even be aware of it, it's just disgraceful. But I'm not surprised to hear him say it. You can't tell when he's speaking or Putin's speaking because it's the same words that come out. All of this is just music to the ears of our enemies. He's a weak man. He's a weak president. He is knuckling under to the Kremlin. He is manipulated easily by praise of these dictators. And he has betrayed our national security. He's betraying our leadership around the world. And I just wish I heard more from my colleagues in the Congress who previously were strong in their support of Ukraine, who previously were strong in their antipathy towards the Kremlin, who sadly are most of them watching silently as we betray everything we've stood for the last half century.
Kind of worse than silently too, right? I mean, as Donald Trump was talking about gutting the CHIPS Act, which employs hundreds of thousands of Americans, bringing the semiconductor industry to the United States. I was watching that joint session. The Republicans gave a standing ovation to Donald Trump talking about gutting the jobs of people where red states, I think, are benefited even more than blue. They gave a standing ovation to their state losing jobs. It's wild to watch.
I have to say, watching that reaction from my Republican colleagues reminded me of a scene out of the meeting of the Chinese Communist Party or the North Korean leader when the parliamentarians or the cabinet stands up and dutifully applauses, and they're all looking at each other like, am I applauding enough, or am I going to be hauled out to the woodshed for not showing the requisite obedience to the dear leader? It had that feeling about it as I was watching them jump to their feet and try to outdo each other with their demonstrations of fealty to the supreme leader.
Finally, Donald Trump's message to farmers and hardworking Americans in response to what he calls short-term disruptions. Donald Trump says, have fun. That was his line. Have fun, everybody. What's your message to the hardworking farmers in your state and hardworking Americans across the country now who are confused, who are worried, who are seeing the markets crash, who are seeing Trump's chaos? What's your message, Senator, to the American people?
My message is speak out. Call your representative, call your senator, make sure they hear from you. There's a lot of concern about retribution, which I think has silenced a great many Americans. Farmers understand the damage this is going to do, but many farmers don't want to speak out about it. They don't want to incur the wrath of the president. They don't want their crop or their industry to be punished for speaking out. But if they don't speak out, if they don't let their representatives know that there's a political price to be paid, not just for the president, but for them. The president's not running again, much as he would like to and much as he likes to kind of troll people. But my colleagues are running again. And they need to hear from people the damage this is doing, the uncertainty it's causing, the markets we're losing, the damage that was done the last time Trump did this. I think what's been going on is he imposes these tariffs. He watches the markets tank. The markets are the one thing this guy watches because, again, it's all about the money. And then he gets spooked and he does away with the tariffs. And then he feels like he's feckless, which he is, and he reimposes the tariffs. And then the markets tank again, and then he gets spooked. That isn't strength. That isn't leadership. It's weakness and chaos, and it's dragging our economy down.
Senator Schiff, thank you for joining us as always, and I'm liking your YouTube page as well. I like what you're doing there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers. Thanks, everybody.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.